Hello and welcome to session 13, part A. By the way, session 12 was the midterm, so that's why you don't see any 12 videos. In this part, by the way, we're on chapter 9 in the book, and this is all about monopoly policy, government policy, antitrust policy, why monopolies might exist, why governments or sometimes do good things to prevent them, sometimes do bad things to prevent them. First thing I want to do, part A, I want to show you exactly what we think about happens in a monopoly, what demand is, why price is above marginal cost, and the incentives um, suppliers have to collude with each other. Okay, so here's how it goes. Here is what I think is approximately true if we could look at the demand and supply for gasoline, say in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Okay. It would look something like this. First, let's just think about demand. And I have no idea what the numbers would be, but I think that this is approximately true. This is the demand curve. The current price, something like $3.50 per gallon for unleaded, and there's probably something like, I have no idea, but I'm going to guess 500,000 gallons per day is about the demand at the current price in early October 2020. Okay. I think that if there was a monopolist, if someone could control all the gasoline in the Washington D.C. area, that demand would something if we put the price of gasoline up to something like $10 a gallon, I bet demand would only about half. There would still be a ton of demand out there. It'd be something like this. Okay. Now, if this is the demand curve that looks something like this, and suppose you were the only supplier in the entire DC metro area, what you'd want to do is you'd want to maximize. Well, first, let's suppose costs are zero. Let's ignore costs. Think, what would you do if you could maximize revenue? Well, your revenue is going to be something like this. You pick a price, say here. You look at the demand curve, say here. That's going to be the quantity people demand, and your revenue is going to be that the area of that rectangle. So it's going to look something like this. Okay. Now, if you are the one supplier, if you're the monopolist, and you want to maximize revenue, what you do is you'd start experimenting with different prices. And the first thing to know is that it's not the case that the highest possible price gives you the most revenue. In fact, it's sort of a middling price is going to give you the most revenue. And to see this, so here's the demand curve. First, suppose I picked a very high price, something like $15. And the way I've done it here, that means you have almost zero demand. If you did a price of $15, your revenue is going to be this blue rectangle. And as you can see, that blue rectangle has less area than the green rectangle. In fact, if you had put it even higher, $16, by this graph, you'd get zero quantity demanded, you get zero revenue. Okay, so it's not the case that super high price is going to be the way you maximize revenue. Same thing with super low price. Demand curve looks like this. If you picked a price of 1 cent, your revenue is going to be this little rectangle down here, this very, very thin rectangle, and that's not going to have as much area as the green rectangle either. Okay. Okay, so that's the first lesson. To maximize revenue, you pick a middling price and you experiment. The way to do that is you find the rectangle, you maximize the area. Okay. Next thing, I think it is approximately true that within the gasoline industry, that if you're a gas station, that your marginal costs are pretty constant. That if we're looking at unleaded gasoline, it's something like, I bet, when you're buying it from suppliers, it's about 325 per gallon, something like that. And no matter how many gallons you buy, the supplier is willing to price it at 325. So your first gallon would say, here, 325, I'll sell it to you. Your 100,000th gallon, same thing. Suppliers say, I'll sell it to you for 325 an hour. So what that means is your marginal costs are something like 325 an hour. Okay. Cost line looks like this. Okay. And if every gas station faces those same marginal costs, now I'm going to use a red marker. Your total costs are just going to be the quantity you supply times the cost per gallon. Your total, not including the fixed cost, but just your total costs are going to be this rectangle right here. So that means your profits are going to be your revenue, this whole green rectangle, minus your costs. This little, it would be black if I colored it in. So that means your profit is going to look like this. It's going to be that rectangle, okay? In the red, the rectangle in red, okay? And if you wanted to maximize your profit, you would experiment with different prices, and you'd say, well, maybe I can, if this new rectangle is bigger than the old one, then that's a higher profit. Let's say it is. Let's say that's about, and you could see same thing. If you start getting price up here, the rectangle is going to get smaller and smaller. Same thing if you get your price very, very close to 325, the rectangle is also going to get smaller. You're going to get a maximum profit somewhere around here, and let's say that it is at approximately $9 per gallon. Okay? All right, so let's assume that's all true. You have constant costs, $3.25 per gallon. The price that maximizes the revenue. If you were the only gas station, or you owned all the gas stations in the DC metro area, I have a feeling that that's approximately true. It's going to be something like $9 a gallon. That's going to maximize your revenue. Excuse me, that's going to maximize your profit. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Here's why we don't see $9 per gallon. Suppose that, okay, so now we have this, let me erase this. So here we have, this is the profit, that red square. Okay. That is the price that maximizes, and here's the profit, that red square. Okay. Now, there's not just one gasoline station in the DC Meriton. It's not just one company. There's a bunch of different companies. Okay. And let's say that there are 200 different gas stations in the DC Metro. It's probably more, but to make it simple, let's say there's 200. What is their profit? Let's say they're all about equal size and they do all the same, about equal business. What would their profit be? Well, the profit would just be a slice of this square. It would be 1/200th. And let's say that the last gas station, just so I can make the drawing simple. So we take that red square, take 1/200th of it, and that's going to be the profit of that one gas station. Now, if you're that one gas station, you would say, okay, there's my profit, that little slice of that that blue triangle, that blue rectangle. If you're that one gas station that everyone's selling at $9, if you're that gas station owner, you might think, look, I could undercut everyone. I could sell for $8.50. Okay, let's go back to the green marker. So I could sell for $8.50, and word would get around. Oh, everyone else is selling at $9. Here's this one gas station that's selling for $8.50. You would get a lot of business. You would sell as much as you could possibly can. There would be so many people trying to go to your gas station. I bet you would get something like 1/10 of the total revenue and total profits of the entire metro area. Let's suppose, though, to make it even simpler, you'd get all of them. That everyone is willing to drive from Maryland, wherever, to get to that 850. Okay, if that were true, what would your profit be? Okay, before it was 1/200th of that red square. Now you're going to sell it for 850. Now the industry's profit is going to be a little less because the way I've drawn it, I'm assuming this green rectangle is a little smaller than the red rectangle, but now you get all of it. You've undercut all your competitors, and you can get all of the profit. So you would get all of this huge amount. Okay, so even though you've made the profits for the industry as a whole, all the gas stations in the DC metro area go down a little bit, you've increased your own profit by a huge amount. Okay, so you think you might want to do that. Okay, now you can take this one step further. Suppose you had done that, so you've priced at 850, you're getting that huge amount. What if instead you're at a different gas station? It says, okay, you know what? I can price at $8. I'm going to price at $8. Let's make it blue. If I price at $8, once again, I make the industry profit go down a little bit because if this blue rectangle has a smaller area than the green rectangle, the industry profits have gone down. But I'm this second gas station that before wasn't getting any profits at all. The green guy had undercut me. Now I'm undercutting the green guy. I'm going to get all the profits. Okay. And then all of a sudden I get this huge blue rectangle in profits. Okay. You can see where this is going. So everyone says, every gas station says, oh, I can undercut the other guys a little bit and keep on doing. And this continues. Everyone thinks this way until everyone is pricing right at that marginal cost, or maybe just a few pennies above it. And I think that's about what happens in the gasoline industry. That the entire industry, everyone is pricing, they set up an equilibrium price at something just a little bit of a marginal cost. And so the profits of the industry are going to be, let me now use a black marker, and this price a little bit above 325. The industry, the profits of the entire industry is going to be this black rectangle, but they're going to divide that up into 200. So it's going to be pretty small profits for everyone. Okay, so that is what I think is going on in the DC gasoline industry. Okay, key thing to know. Okay, everyone's profit, the equilibrium profits end up being pretty low. Okay, in contrast, though, if instead we could monopolize this industry, the industry profits would be much higher. They would be about the red square. Okay, now here is the tension that goes on in just about any industry. All the gas stations owners would say, look, our profits are really small. Their total is this black rectangle, and we've divided that up into 200. What if instead we could all get together and we collude and we say, hey, look, let's work with each other. Let's instead, no one set a price below $9. Let's all keep it at $9, and we'll get 1/200th of the red rectangle, which is bigger than 1/200th of that black rectangle. Okay, if they could, they'd want to do that. They would be better off doing that. Okay, and there's reasons we have laws against collusion. It's for that reason. Now one way it's good for the owners of the gas stations, the suppliers, but it'd be bad for the consumers. Okay, here though. So that's the tension, okay? I want you to think about that. So in equilibrium, we believe in a competitive industry. Profits are always going to be small, but all of the suppliers, if they could, they would love to, if they could, to collude and make sure everyone's setting a high price. Okay, that's the first lesson. Okay, next lesson is economists say, why is that bad? Why not allow everyone to collude? This is, sometimes cutthroat competition is bad. Why not allow everyone to collude and set a $9 price? Okay. Well, one, if we like consumers more than producers, that's one reason. Okay, but that's not what the average economist would say. It would say, well, the problem is if the price is at $9, okay, yeah, the producers are gaining a lot. It hurts consumers, but maybe we like producers more than consumers. Okay, there's some industries people will tell you this. Oh, we need to protect the businesses. The reason economists do not like this is because there are gains from exchange that are not made when that happens. When we have a monopoly like this, here's what happens. We have, let's say, that price, $6. There's some person, or actually lots of people, who would be willing to buy if the price were $6. In fact, all the people whose quantities are represented in here, they are willing to pay more than $6 an hour, but they're not willing to pay $9. All those people, the quantities in this region, do not make trades. Those people do not buy gasoline if the price were $9. Okay. And meanwhile, the costs to the gas stations are low. They're $3.25. So there's a bunch of potential consumers who would love to buy, and there's a lot of potential suppliers who would say, yeah, I'd be willing to sell. The problem is we're trying to collude to keep it at $9 an hour. But the key is that there are some gains from exchange that are not made. Okay, there's value. That's the difference between the cost and the demand. Those are values, the extra value that could be realized, that could be created by just these exchanges that don't happen. And economists, I told you, we cringe whenever we see a potential trade that doesn't get made. And that's one of the problems with monopoly. And in fact, that's probably the main problem with monopoly when an economist talks about why monopoly is bad. Okay. Okay, and I'll end it there. Okay, and that's why economists like the case where we have a perfectly competitive market, where we have price drops down to the marginal cost. We like that. Okay, we say that's good if you're an economist. Okay, so that is part A. I'll end there. Okay, see you in part B.